Yes, your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another double spending episode. I haven't done one of these in a long time. Well, I have one today. Kennedy Financial set up a roundtable with Maddie Greenspan, former senior analyst over at eToro, Crypto Ernie, and myself, Crypto Blood. Hope you guys enjoy this roundtable discussion. Got a little heated, but it was all fun and games. Let me know your thoughts about this discussion in the comments below. We talked about Bitcoin and its correlation or lack thereof with traditional markets, especially with gold. And leave your 2 Satoshis in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to receive more videos like this.
All right, back at it, doing it again. Got a great lineup this evening. Going to talk more Bitcoin. But first, everybody hit the like button, hit subscribe. Make sure to share this link with somebody who's into crypto. Please retweet. Go check me out at Kennedy Finance over on Twitter. This episode just brought to you by, I don't know, the KF store, the Make Gold Money Again mug. Go check out the Kennedy Financial store and see if anything in there is worthwhile. Many thanks to our sponsors who help bring you this content. We couldn't do it without you, all supported by listeners and viewers. So thank you to you guys. If you're interested, go check us out on Patreon and you can help support us too. As promised, the lineup: Maddie Greenspan, lower left-hand corner. Everybody knows CB, Crypto Blood, top left. And Ernie Veritimos, a.k.a. Trader of Futures, a.k.a. Crypto Ernie. Thanks for coming back, guys. Maddie, we'll start with you. We had a pump the other day. Everybody getting all excited
Ernie
again.
And Crypto Blood. Can you call me just Crypto Maddie?
Crypto
Sure.
Maddie.
Right on. Whatever you want. So Crypto Maddie, we had a pump the other night. Well, maybe in a second. I'll save it for later. I'll leave it to the technical experts. What happened? Did you sell into the rally? Is this short term? What are your thoughts as of January 16th, 2020 today?
All right. Well, it's January 17th over here already. As I see, this whole crypto rally was just a fire waiting to happen. Throughout the bear market, people keep building and building, and adoption is taking place. So I believe it's kind of been a long time coming. What really was the catalyst was the airstrikes in Iran, or in Iraq, rather, the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani. It was a big geopolitical event, and we saw for probably the first time in history, Bitcoin rallying in response to a geopolitical risk event and acting as a real safe haven.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that event kind of gave the market the confidence that was needed to get the momentum going. And once the momentum going, it was very hard to stop. Resistance levels started breaking, volume was increasing, and sentiment, very key, was pointing upwards. At this point, we've reached a bit of a peak. I'm not sure if we have steam to cross the next point path of resistance. But what's most important to me, anyways, as far as the drivers of this, is the drivers of all market, is the U.S. Federal Reserve. And over the last few months, let's say since September of last year, in October, they've actually started the printing presses again. As did the ECB, the European Central Bank, around the same time frame. So we had a central bank system before that was actually, but you got the interest rates there, yeah. So you can see they were basically trying to tighten up the economy by raising interest rates throughout 2017 and 2018. And then just halfway through last year, they decided, okay, wait a second, and they all of a sudden reversed course, started lowering interest rates as well. And you can pull up their balance sheet, which is basically the opposite chart, where their balance sheet was completely huge. And then 2018, they started to offload their balance sheet, and they were like, okay, we're getting on track here, things are good. And then all of a sudden, September came along and just blew everything out of the water. And right now, they're printing money just as fast as they ever did in 2009 or 2010. It's just ridiculous. So the result of that is, free money. That free money tends to go into finance markets. The stock markets are rallying. Yeah, that's the balance sheet got up there. And Tesla, for example, has doubled in 3 months. We know that the value of the company Tesla has not doubled in 3 months. And some of the other tech stocks are rallying too, because basically what happens here is that the Federal Reserve is forcing investors into risky positions. They're basically backing investors into a corner. They're saying, here's free money, take it, goddamn it, and we're going to lower the interest rates as well, so you've got to invest it. And then we get all of these negative yielding bonds. At the moment, there's about $16 trillion worth of negative yielding bonds at the moment. There's no safe place to put that money. That money has to get put to work, and it has to go towards risk. Now, the people who receive that money first, they're not going to go right away and put that into crypto. But what happens is it takes a few months to trickle through the system. And we saw that deal where Visa bought crypto company Plaid. I think it Played. I'm not sure how it's pronounced.
Yeah, Plaid. Yeah. For how many billion? That was crazy.
Exactly. So the idea here is that money, which is being printed out of nowhere, is going into tech, and crypto is a big part of tech. And just if we think about it's just a thimble, compared to the tidal wave that's getting pushed at the market. But because the crypto market is so small, it basically has a huge balloon effect on pricing.
Let's go to Ernie, Crypto Ernie first. I'm worried about your timing. What are your thoughts? Your reaction to Maddie?
The wife will probably bring down my meal, but who knows?
Okay, I just want to make sure you can get it.
I might just get doghoused.
Sorry.
And no meal, no food for you tonight, Ernie.
Tell her it's Kennedy Financial's fault. I'm sorry.
So I'm still of the opinion that Bitcoin and the economy and geopolitical or geoeconomic condition are completely unrelated. I think that Bitcoin is up right now for the same reason that it's always up. It's at the whim of a few people. This may have just been an excuse to move it up, but first of all, it's too thinly traded. There aren't enough people that are actually in it to make a difference. And most of the people that are in crypto don't even know what the Federal Reserve is.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Have no idea. Could not point to Iran on a map.
They're all like 14 years old. You're right. They don't know anything.
So to suggest that somehow crypto now is reacting to geopolitical events, to me is absolutely ludicrous. I'll know more. I'm going to
Okay.
I'll know more later next month. Early next month, I'm going to a conference.
Hey, Maddie, you got to understand, Ernie is a contrarian, so just
no kidding.
Just get used to it.
Right. And he's entitled to his own opinion. But let me just, he doesn't know where Iran is. I can't help him.
I know where Iran is.
No, he was talking about young people.
Yeah.
If young people don't know where Iran is, we can't help them.
And of course, most people, when they hear my words, they'll think, you don't know anything, Grandpa. No, I've only been in the industry for 40 years and done just about everything. I'm going to a conference next month, by the way, the CASE conference. I don't know if you've heard about that, but it is a conference of some of the most influential money market managers and alternative investment people and others on the Grand Caymans. And
sounds like fun.
Yeah, I hope to get some pretty good insight there. I talk with these people a lot, and I think that most money managers are also kind of reticent or at least skeptical about this idea of this correlation between geopolitical events and Bitcoin. I just can't buy it at all, quite frankly.
Okay. Well, the timing is I mean, the time correlation is undeniable. I mean,
all right. So let's talk about timing. Let's talk about timing. There was a time about, I think it was about 5 or 6 months ago, when they said that Bitcoin was 80% correlated to gold.
No,
No,
I
it
don't
Okay.
believe that. I don't believe that. I don't.
Nobody
It was
ever
it
said
was in
that.
the
There was
news. It
No.
was
never
on
any.
all the major
No, no, no,
networks,
no,
all
no,
the
no.
No.
pundits,
Now,
every
now you're
It's all.
making stuff
single
It's
up.
rag.
it's
You're
nearly
making
a
up stuff.
zero
You just,
correlation
All
right
right.
you
now.
just
No, no,
made
no.
it up. I'm sorry
Wait a
about
minute.
that.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to make a point here. It was on
Let's hear it.
every single trade rag. It was out there. It was the
Okay,
news
so
across the
I'm gonna
internet.
Google that. Okay,
All right.
Bitcoin has 80% correlation.
All right.
If
And
it
there was a
if it did
period.
happen, it'll come up, right?
There was a period for about 2 weeks where it was 80% correlated. And so during that 2 weeks, I was watching it on CNBC. So
No,
it's undeniable. It happened. And I
no,
saw it
nothing
everywhere.
on the first page of Google for Bitcoin.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever.
Correlation with gold. Yeah, dude, you're talking out of your ass.
Ernie
here.
said whatever.
Hey,
Whatever.
Just
Whatever,
remember the
Maddie.
rules, guys.
I
Crypto
am not
Maddie.
talking on my ass.
We're trying
Please,
we're trying to
please
win
have
hearts and
respect
No,
for
I
your
meant that
elders.
in the most respectful way.
Yeah, have respect for your elders. I didn't make this up. It was out there, and it's just an anecdotal thing. But
All right, let me get my turn.
yeah,
Ernie.
let's hear your two Satoshis.
So yeah,
CB.
my two Satoshis on the situation is that I think that this last move was, as Maddie said, it was undeniable. You can't deny that the correlation was there. Now that doesn't mean that that correlation stays there. As we saw that correlation broke right after. Gold started to pull back. It dropped 4% off its highs. Bitcoin dropped as well, but recovered and continued higher. So, markets can correlate and decouple. And that's what's going on with Bitcoin over a long term. You take 5 years, even 3 years, 4 years. No, I don't see a correlation yet with the traditional markets. But I see this as a promising move and a sign of maturity of Bitcoin to see a reaction from a geopolitical issue. I think that's awesome. The last time I saw that was in that wasn't even really I guess it was geopolitical when Greece when we had the ring fencing
Cyprus.
of Cyprus.
Yes, I remember that.
But I don't count that simply because the market was so small back then. No one was really in it at that point. So I don't know how to take that, but
It was
I'm
probably
glad.
three Russians that had their bank accounts closed in
Exactly. It was
Cyprus,
like,
and they bought a bunch.
what
of
happens the
Bitcoin
next time we
before
have a
they-
geopolitical event and Bitcoin doesn't react? What will be the story then?
well,
Because it
that's a
happened
counterfact. We don't know. We can't argue that yet because it hasn't happened. So up until now,
all
we
the time.
have
No. So
no.
I think you're missing the point, Ernie, and the point that Mr. Blood and I are trying to make is the fact that it did react, or did ostensibly react, I'll say for your sake, was quite profound, and that immediately touched the psyche of the crypto traders and said, wait a second, we're onto something here, and we have an asset that can and has the potential to be a safe haven in the face of geopolitical risk, especially when that geopolitical risk happens in an area where crypto is a hot issue and a hot topic. And
I know that's what they're hoping for.
Who is hoping for?
That it's a safe haven, that someday it will be a safe haven asset, that it will.
Well,
be
it already
I'm
is
just
a hedge
no,
against.
Ernie. I'm just
against
asking,
central
like,
banks.
who's hoping for that, Ernie? Is what I'm saying.
Whoever the people are that you're talking about that are interested in this.
Well, people who believe in Bitcoin, yeah.
People
I
that
didn't
believe
say I
in
didn't
People
Bitcoin,
who
sure.
believe in Bitcoin generally tend to see it as a hedge against
Right.
the current monetary, financial,
Yes.
banking.
And I just want to interject really
geopolitical
quickly
system.
and
Yeah.
highlight. I talked about this on one of my videos a couple of days ago, my non-crypto related videos. And it's interesting. I don't hear many people talking about this, but there was talks by the Federal Reserve of actually extending this repo out to hedge funds. So this is the next step. And we know that if they're allowing hedge funds to, kind of work with the repo window, Fed rate or whatever, what are they going to do with that money? It's going directly into equities and bonds. So now I think we're getting to the point where the Fed is literally monetizing the stock market. That's what's next. And
Well,
so it's only
they've
going to
been
get
doing that
worse.
years.
I mean, yeah, but I'm talking about like blatantly, directly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
So,
saying?
so what happened in 2009? What quantitative easing is? It's actually they're not printing money. That's it. You can say printing money as a slander against them because it's almost what it is. But what they do, and this is the first time that this has ever happened in history, is that the Federal Reserve, the ones who create the money in the world, the ones who are in charge of regulating the money in the United States, basically intervened in the market, in the open market. The market is
Right.
supposed to be free. It's supposed to be, United States is a capitalistic country, and it's supposed to have a free market. And what's happened here is that the Federal Reserve, along with all of the other central banks around the world, went in to intervene in their own market, and they bought bonds and they bought other financial assets, mortgage-backed securities,
Yeah.
and other financial assets. In some countries, they even bought corporate
Outright stocks.
bonds and stocks, I'm sure, in some places. So basically what's happening is, where does that money come from? They are buying it, right? They just add it to their balance sheet. In order to add it to their balance sheet, they're just creating the money out of thin air, right? And to answer Ernie's earlier point, no, the crypto trader on the street doesn't need to see that process from QE to Bitcoin. He doesn't need to see it happening. But crypto doesn't exist in a world of its own. It doesn't exist in a vacuum that nothing else touches. It is part of the rest of the global economy. In fact, I mean, Bitcoin's rise in 2017 was in large part people saying, "Hey, wait a second, I saw it firsthand." Right? Is people saying, "Okay, look, I've got 50,000, I've got $100,000 on the side here. The bank isn't giving me any interest. All right. If I save that money, I'm not getting jack diddly squat for it. And on top of that, I have inflation, meaning that that money that I'm holding on the side is actually losing money every single day that I do not touch it. Right. Now, as I mentioned before, what the central banks are doing is pushing people into riskier and riskier trades. And for people who have a lot of money, right, that could mean buying Apple stock, right? And if you can see 20%, 30% a year on that, you're doing fantastic. But for somebody with 50 or $100,000, those stocks might not really do it for them. And at the same time, people are getting aware. They are becoming aware of central bank action. They did see what happened in 2008. People are not blind, and especially millennials, people who are making decisions in increasingly in the global economy today. They are fed up with the Fed and with the ECB and with the People's Bank of China and the Bank of England and everybody who's been basically devaluing their money on purpose, and people are sick of it, and that's why they're going to crypto. But where did that money come from that they buy the crypto with? Came from the freaking central banks, man. So if they create more money, there's more money in the system. There's more money to be piled into. So read a famous or a famous joke. I think it basically goes, it's not Bitcoin that's rising so fast. It's the dollar that's going down. I think that's it's kind of funny, but it's kind of true in a way.
Yeah,
Dollar's going down.
That's what all the gold
It's not
bugs always
Bitcoin zooming
say.
up; it's the dollar zooming down.
I agree.
Didn't notice.
I agree.
I didn't notice. As far as I can tell, the dollar's been sideways for about 4 years now, at least.
Nope.
Well, that's the dollar index, but that's a little different than
the dollar
tracking
index is just measuring the dollar
against other fiat currencies. Yep. Yeah, so that's
if you
not.
look at inflation and purchasing power. The dollar has been going
Who's
very
purchasing
steadily
anything
down.
with Bitcoin?
I don't understand what's your point?
How is it involved in any kind of velocity of money? Involved in any kind of
It's not.
economy? It's not. Of course,
No,
it
it's not.
What do you
So
mean it's not?
all
Of
of
course
these
it is.
arguments are completely useless.
Okay,
I just don't get it. I'm sorry, but
clarify yourself.
look,
Maybe
look,
we can help you out here.
well, first of all, my dinner's ready, and I'm a little frustrated.
Okay.
But I'm going to bring this stuff up when I go to this conference, because this conference happens to have some of the the most prescient and biggest money managers in the world, and I really like to hear what they have to say.
Yeah,
I know what they have to say. It's a little bit different than what we're talking about here,
sure.
but
No, I know what you mean. I was at Davos 2 years ago. I mean, that was just an incredible experience. I mean, I learned a lot from that, and I hope that you have fun over there, and that that's quite meaningful.
Well, they tend to get it wrong, so don't listen too much to them.
no. I always go with a skeptical ear.
No, you know what? Their opinions don't matter. They're going to make money, and no matter what happens.
That is
It's
correct.
That's true.
Money,
That is
money
correct.
comes to money. It
I'm
doesn't matter
simply
what
going there to
That's
make
true.
narrative is.
friends and network. So,
Yeah, I hear that.
but it'll be interesting to hear. Hey, they're the guys that are pushing around the money. These are the top crypto and venture funds out there. So
Yeah.
we'll see where the money's going, and I'd love to tell you about it on the next show, Phil.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your position. I really do. I as you can assume, I don't agree with it at all. I don't think that Bitcoin. I think any correlation that you see is pure coincidence. It
Okay.
doesn't happen enough to be a correlation. You can't be
Ernie, I'm gonna make a graph for you,
can
and
be correlated for a few things and then not
No.
correlated with all the other stuff.
I'm gonna make a graph of the last 4 years and show you how Bitcoin correlates to the stocks and central banks.
All right, and when you do that, give that to me, and I'll show you.
I'm gonna send it out tomorrow. Go ahead and sign up for my newsletter, and I'll go ahead and send it out just for you in tomorrow's episode.
Way cool. I'm special.
I think you
Well,
are.
I think we tapped on something earlier. I do believe that this Iran situation is not going away, particularly because any country that's willing to go ahead and make a face of a guy at a parade, I think they're pretty pissed off. They're kind of serious. They're not going to forget this next week. I heard one guy that I followed.
Do you think
I beg to differ. I
I
beg to
got,
differ
I
there,
got
Phil.
goosebumps watching that. I got goosebumps watching that funeral. I was like, the heebie-jeebies.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Do you
So you
Loads
think,
of
CB, you
people
think they've
going
already
through the
forgotten?
street.
I
No.
think that we did them a favor.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of the media is
A lot of hot takes here on KF tonight.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
boy.
media is biased towards the left anyway, right? So anything Trump does is going to be looked at as a bad situation. However, I think personally it is a good thing, and I'm hearing that a lot of people over there are actually very very excited that he's gone. I don't know if you guys saw the video of the crowd, and they had I think Israel's flag and America's flag on the ground,
And they wouldn't step on
and
it.
they wouldn't step on it. Most would not step on it. Those are the little telltale signs you have to look at.
No, because people are respectful.
Are you kidding?
And especially, yeah. Well, people in Iran are people just like you and me, and I think that if
They never would have done it.
No,
before this happened.
they're
Well, hold on.
they're-
Let's listen to Matt.
But-
Let's hear him out because he's
you're
over
talking
there.
about one picture, and I happened to see that picture as well, and maybe there was 20 people or 30 sets of shoes, whatever.
yeah.
I'm talking about. I mean, I don't know if you saw footage of General Soleimani's funeral. Have you seen it?
I've seen a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of people.
hundreds of thousands of people
Because they were
pouring
scared.
through the streets and chanting. Scared of what? They were
Of-
mourning.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so, man.
Scared of what?
People are getting killed for not mourning.
No, you don't have that many. Okay. So a hired crowd, right? Whatever. That's what
Yeah.
happened. That's what Gaddafi had. And to be clear, I mean, people are not afraid of standing up against the government. They've been demonstrating for months already. They've been protesting, whatever. People are not scared to speak against the government. We see footage of it all the time. Iran speaking out against the government, blah blah blah. Those people were mourning, and you could see it on the footage. I mean, go back and watch it. And that
I'm
was
sure you
hundreds
could
of
find
thousands.
100,000 people in Iran.
To say that we did them a favor, or we got rid of a terrorist, that's you're falling into Trump's narrative there, and I'm sorry for you.
The last
No.
vestiges of the
But
Yeah.
I do have to go and eat dinner, and I am looking forward to
Bon
your
appetit.
newsletter. So sorry, I have to leave.
No, go for it, man. Go. Well, let's
Well,
do
hey.
a different time.
As we've discussed before, this is the arena of ideas. If we all just came on here and agreed with everything and one another, then there'd be no point to doing the show. And as I can admit, and I've said a million times, if I predict predicted the future accurately, I'd be on my yacht rather than talking to you guys. So, Ernie, go have your dinner, and CB and I and Maddie will round this thing out.
All right, Ernie.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Nice meeting you. Take care, Matt. Bye.
Pleasure.
Bye, CB.
So I'll have to move the screen around here in a second. So is this halving meaningful to you, Maddie? You know, we're now less than 17 weeks away. The hash rate is pumping to places I didn't even know it would ever get to. I think we're still at all-time highs as of tonight. We're at 128 exahashes, or whatever you say to pronounce that word. Either of those things, are those priced in, as the smart guys say, the halving?
Okay, so the halving is quite, and I wrote about it in today's QE newsletter as well. The halving, as far as I see, I've had clients and journalists asking me about the halving event as far as 8 months back already. I mean, people have been waiting for this for a very long time, and I don't know how much stock we should be putting into the specific stock to flow that's been, very popular in the crypto market. I don't know exactly how accurate that is, or how scientific. And I've seen several economists that I really respect actually speak out against that model. But one of Bitcoin's main value propositions is the scarcity, the digital scarcity, and the limited. Yeah, that's the guy.
Plan B for everybody on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean,
Phil's very familiar with that stock to flow.
nothing but respect for him, and I love the way that he structured his thesis. But my point is that Bitcoin is going from an inflation of 3.7% per year to 1.8% per year, and less inflation simply is more stabilizing for the price. Is it priced in? No, I mean, it can't be priced in. It can only be priced in after it happens. It will only be priced in my estimation, months after the event. We won't really know what the effect on the miners and the entire network is going to be until way later.
CB, your reaction to Maddie's comment?
Well, I think we're starting to see the pricing in occur along with, what happened with overseas. It's all kind of coming together. But I will say, I don't know who I saw this from, but someone did a kind of a report or compare and contrast between previous halvings of Bitcoin. And what we're seeing is a less and less effect on the spot price of Bitcoin before each halving. So I'm expecting something between 50% and 70% return as we lead into that, or going into and after the halving. I don't see anything like crazy going to 100,000. Of course, X any other stuff that may happen. I'm just strictly talking about the halving. I think people are overhyping it a little bit. So if we don't have any like additional geopolitical issues or anything before then, I don't see it being that big of a deal. Maybe 16,000, 15,000, somewhere around there.
So 17. no new all-time high.
Nah, I don't think so. Not yet. No. Again, that's without anything external. If we have some type of nuclear war or something like that, or we have a blow up in the repo markets, then that's a different scenario. I think we'll go parabolic in
Natty,
that case.
What do you think?
Never been one to predict price. So I really don't know what's going to happen in the future. As far as market efficiency is concerned, I can quite pointedly tell you that so think about when the Federal Reserve adjusts their interest rate by, and they adjust their interest rate by 1/4 of a point each time, meaning 0.25%. And doesn't seem like a meaningful amount, but even just them hinting at possibly increasing the interest rate or decreasing the interest rate in 3-4 months from now has an immediate and noticeable effect on the stock market, the currency market, the commodities market, and everything like that.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, what does the interest rate do? The interest rate is kind of one of their tools that they use as far as controlling inflation. They can't outright control inflation. Maybe they'll be able to better once central bank digital currencies are around. But what they use the interest rate for is to guide inflation, meaning that if inflation is coming in too strong, they can raise interest rates to kind of push it down, and vice versa. There's not enough inflation, which is the situation we've had over the last few years, then they tend to pull the interest rates back.
That's
So
interesting you say that about digital bank currency. I never even thought about how easily they'll be able to
well,
shrink
that's
supply of cash in a digital aid. They'll literally just like they do with Tether. They'll just
computer
destroy it, right?
program, man. It's just
And
a
then
computer program. Tick
boom.
tick tick tick
Yeah.
tick, and whatever it is. But in this case, and in Bitcoin's case, we can actually know what the rate of inflation is,
Right.
and the rate of inflation is not going 0.25%, right? It's actually on on or around May 20th. It will be cut in half from
Hmm.
3.6% to 1.8%, which incidentally, 1.8% is exactly the target for the Federal Reserve. That's actually the perfect inflation as far as they're concerned. But not only that, we know that in 4 years from now, it's going from 1.8% to, what is it, 0.75%. I did the math correctly in my head there. So we know that over time, the rate of inflation is going to continuously shrink, rather than remain stable at losing your money devaluing 2% every 2% every year. So that's the main value
And in
proposition.
addition to that, the Fed, they like to not include certain items in the inflation CPI. So that's a whole lie. That's another topic, but that's a whole
Yeah, they
lie
like
and
to play
sham
games with
right
those.
there. So
We got a question coming in live, guys. Coming in from Crypto Maniac. He or she asks, where do you guys think the money will flow to store of wealth when the stock market is going to crash? That'll go to you, Maddie. Where do you guys think money will
I
flow
like the
after
way
the stock?
I like the way that's phrased. When the stock market is going to crash, it's not even a question of if anymore, is it?
nah.
In my mind, it's not the stock market that's in danger; it's the currency market, right? Because um, what they're doing is they're creating currency in order to hold up the stocks, and they will continue to do that for as long as they can. So the stocks aren't really in any danger here. If the stock markets fall, they'll just throw more money at them, like they have been doing over the last 10 years. The danger of this is if this continues to play out over a long enough timeline, they'll simply saturate the market for currency, and basically debase the value of the currency. We've seen this happen in small scale economies like Venezuela and Zimbabwe, right? They decided that they can continue printing an endless amount of money in order to support their economy, and then in the end, the currency is what gives way. Now, the U.S. dollar is a much larger animal than the Zimbabwe dollar or the Venezuelan currency. It's actually the global reserve currency. I mean, just about every bank in the world is holding U.S. dollars. So, if and when hyperinflation does reach the dollar, I mean, obviously it's going to take a lot longer because there's just so many more places. But basically, what ends up happening is that right now, United States isn't seeing inflation because they're effectively exporting their inflation, right? Instead of keeping the dollars back home, they're actually exporting all of that inflation outward. But once that market becomes saturated, the market for dollars, which is the US's number one export at the moment, once that becomes saturated, they'll have nowhere to send those dollars. Will they be smart enough to stop printing by that point? I hope so. But if not, they run the risk of hyperinflation, and that would have devastating consequences throughout the world. And at that point, I wouldn't really care what the price of the stock market is or the price of Bitcoin.
I think that's the direction they're going, Maddie. I think they're going to go the hyperinflationary depression route. Yeah, I thought they would have the good sense to have raised interest rates 8 years ago, 7 years ago, when it became apparent that no, this policy was going to be the norm, it was evident.
But you got to think, you got to think
back
about
then.
it though, Phil. Like, and I thought long and hard about this, man. If you were in those positions, if you were in Powell's position, if you were in any of the president's positions, you don't want this to fall on your clock, right? So that's why we always have that perpetual can kicking, because no one wants to have the biggest crash ever to fall on in their hands, on their clock. So that's why you'll continue to see them do various things to just keep the can kicking going for the next person, you know. But to answer, but to answer his question, that's a good question. I think really it's more of it's not when the stock market crashes, because the stock market is a stock market crash is a symptom of something else that has occurred when it happens. So I think money it depends on what happens that causes the stock market crash. And I think initially, my gut feeling is that, ironically enough, you're going to see money go into money. You're going to see capital go into cash first, and then you'll see reallocation into like cryptocurrencies, maybe real estate. I don't know. I don't know what other asset class. I'm not really focused on those other asset classes. I just know that cryptocurrencies will definitely be one of those asset classes that you see money or liquidity spill over into in the next crisis. I'm excited because we've never seen crypto or Bitcoin in a crisis. In an 08, we've never seen this. So if we've seen a 9.4 million% return on Bitcoin, not in a middle of a 08, 09, what does it look like when we have that again? I don't know, man. It's going to be really exciting to see.
I'll answer you there, Mr. Blood. People think about the economy as a thing that goes up and down, but it actually doesn't. It goes side to side. It expands and it contracts. This is how the economy works. It doesn't go like this.
Right.
It goes out and back in.
It's a business cycle, right?
In 2008, the price of gold actually fell. Right? Gold is supposed to be the safe haven. People are panicking, selling their stocks. What do you think they did with gold? Do you think they bought gold? They couldn't buy gold because they had nothing to buy it with.
Mm-hmm.
The value basically went out as the economy contracted, right? The value just disappears. It goes out the window, right? We have a very fat economy, and all of a sudden it gets real thin, okay? So there's no money on the side to buy gold. The value is not there. You have nothing to buy it with. So the price of gold went down as well in 2008. It wasn't until 2009 when they started introducing quantitative easing, and then people got, there was money in the system again, and people started fearing inflation, that they took some of that money and poured it into gold.
And honestly, Maddie, I think that's going to happen with Bitcoin too. Like if we have
100%
another 08.
So let me ask you, if you're all of a sudden in a place where, I don't know, you lose your job, or whatever income you have, you're
going to liquidate.
You're going to liquidate you're going to liquidate whatever the F you can to keep gas in your car and food on the table. And sure,
exactly.
But not only that. I mean, let's say that it does appreciate against the dollar. Let's say that it does go to $1 million per coin. What good is Bitcoin being $1 million per coin when $1 million is enough to buy you a hamburger?
I said that. Didn't I say that on your show, Phil? I think I've said that about the price of Bitcoin going to $1 million. It's not going to matter if no one wants that dollar, if it's a shit dollar at that point. You know what I'm saying? If it's Weimar Germany, like you said, if it takes a barrel of money to buy a loaf of bread, it doesn't matter that Bitcoin versus that dollar is $1 million.
Well, let me ask you guys something, because Maddie doesn't know this. CB does. My show doesn't just talk crypto. The theme is sound money, free markets, Austrian economics. I have a lot of guys on from the mining stock sector, the gold and silver markets, who are very frustrated. They honestly are kind of reminiscent of this scene right here. They're very upset. And they're like, sick of seeing the stock market go up. That was from The Big Short, Maddie.
The Big Short, yeah. I just recognized that,
I'm Ryan Gosling there. That's me. I'm calm, cool, and collected. I got the winning hand. I'm pretty convinced, and I've been holding that hand a long time, but I'm convinced that it's going to play well, and I just have to be patient. Sure, the stock market keeps going up. Alphabet hit $1 trillion in market cap today. All sorts of craziness. Tesla, they're talking about what is it going to go to $600 a share or whatever. But the reality is,
Oppenheimer came out and said that. Yep.
Priced in sound money, the stock market is actually falling, believe it or not. Peaked in September 2018 at 22 ounces of gold. We're now back down to January 2020. As I've said many times on this show, the Dow Gold ratio isn't a financial chart. It's a human behavior chart. So whether you look at the depression, the malaise of the 1970s, or the insanity of QE and artificially low interest rates, I think it's going to play out the same way. So, does Bitcoin have a role in that? Is necessity the mother of invention? Is Bitcoin going to sop up all these dishonest dollars and hold them accountable?
Yeah, of course. I call Bitcoin, I've said this many years ago, I said Bitcoin is a black hole. It's a black hole because you have unlimited QE going into a finite asset. It's a black hole. It's going to suck up all that stuff, man. And unfortunately, I know you're a silver and gold guy, Phil. There's no harm in holding any. Absolutely not. But man,
I look at it as a stable coin.
I think, you can, that's a true stable coin right there. But I think the returns in Bitcoin and cryptos are going to be like nothing we've ever seen in our lives. Again, time 2x. We're going to do it again. Groundhog's Day. It's going to be 2017 all over again.
Well, I agree with you. That's why I have you guys on. I think that we will potentially see hyper Bitcoinization. And I don't mean that from the standpoint of a maximalist. I think there will be alts that follow Bitcoin
alts
up.
will do even better. Yeah, percentage-wise, alts will do better.
So I don't know. I don't know if you knew this, or probably you didn't know, but I've actually been paper trading on gold since I was 13. So I'm right there with you. And when you have those type of when we look at the global economy as it is today, and you see chaos, and I saw them on the television this morning arguing. One person going, "Yeah, we should be fearful of this," but we had another, a very well-respected economist, and she's been right over the last few months because she's been buying the stocks and making all this money, and saying, "Look, we have no choice but to go into the risks now. So I'm going all full steam ahead. Give me the risk." But they don't call it risk because it's a white fluffy cloud or something. It's risk because that's dangerous stuff. And eventually, I've been around long enough, and I've seen enough traders pile on too much risk that people are going to get hurt. Does Bitcoin play a role in it? I believe it absolutely does, and I hope that Bitcoin is ready for it when it comes.
CB, your reaction to Maddie?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I totally agree with what he's saying. And like I said, I think having gold and silver is fine. But at the end of the day, people can say we're just, I don't really care about it's not about the gold price. It's the price of gold. And I've heard all that stuff so many years. It's at the end of the day, you want to make money. You want to have some return on your investment. And I think you'll be able to buy tons more gold and silver if you allocate a little bit more in cryptos versus gold, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens though.
Yeah, well, I love the transparency of it.
If you don't have physical gold and silver, let's say physical gold and silver can also be used as a hedge against wider problems. For example, if the electricity goes out, you can't really use Bitcoin, right? I don't know. People in Cyprus, for example, when that bail-in happened that you mentioned earlier, if they had Bitcoin, sure, that would have helped them. But probably there were people out around with gold and silver who actually were able to use that in order to feed their family for the week.
But here's my problem with that, Maddie, and I don't know if you've seen this video floating around on
paper,
YouTube.
By the way, anybody who was smart enough to be carrying paper under their mattresses that for that week that the banks were closed, Are you kidding me? Yeah, they were able to feed their family.
That's what I was going to mention, because the thing is, you know that most people don't know what an ounce of gold. If I go outside right now and say, how much is this ounce of gold? People, the common folk, they're going to say like $100, 500. You know, they're going to say something well below spot price of gold. And so, to me, I think having $20 bills, having a couple stacks of $20 bills around is going to help you out better. I'm saying if we go into a situation when the electricity is out, that's a whole nother situation, because I think guns and ammo and food is going to be what you're going to need.
Sure.
That guy.
The Florida hurricane. Are you kidding?
Yeah, and Katrina, like, no, man, that gold is not. You're gonna need something else.
That gold don't help you much. With a
So
Glock in your face.
It just depends. Like, it depends on the scenario, the situation.
Well, gentlemen, appreciate all your time this evening. Maddie, I'm going to give you your final word and where you would like to refer folks for more information about what you do. You mentioned your CT crypto class. I got it here on Twitter. Where else can folks find you, and what would you like to refer folks to?
Definitely. So I was the senior market analyst for eToro for 7.5 years. And I've now gone and I'm starting my own business. As you mentioned, part of that is one of the first partnerships that I struck was with Cointelligence. And we've built a crypto trading masterclass. And you can definitely, anybody who wants to learn how to read the charts can definitely go ahead and check that out. If you want to get my daily thoughts on the markets, I'm sending out an excellent newsletter, which comes with has been rated very highly by many influencers in the space. It's also read every single day by members in the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, Bloomberg, etc. So right there, just hit the subscribe button. And if you want to, hear my hourly thoughts, that would be on Twitter, because if just anything that pops into my head, I'll go over there. And I'm very keen to build. I've got a lot of different offers on the table and a lot of different startups, things that have been buzzing around my head for years already, that I'm actually just finally starting to see come to fruition. So very happy to hear, people have investment ideas, or they want to start something, or want to collaborate. I'm all ears at the moment.
Good deal, CB.
Sweet. My question before we end, Maddie, are you any relation to Alan Greenspan? I've been wanting to ask that forever. Are you any relation to the Alan Greenspan?
Not that I know of, but he did get me out of some trouble in Las Vegas once.
Oh man, that's cool. So you can find me on Twitter, on YouTube it's CB News, Crypto Blood, CB News, and on Twitter is Crypto Blood _. Man, I'm just I'm a algo developer. I create algos for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Been doing it for FX for over 7 years as well. So you guys can contact me if you want to join that service. I do TA every day. Everyone knows how to find me. CryptoBlood.io.
Perfect. And as I always say, I'm not a prima donna, no divas over here. If you guys want to take my content, put it on your channels, I'm Phil Kennedy over at Kennedy Financial counselor, not an advisor. I walk people through the emotions of money. And there are a lot of emotions out there. We almost had some emotions here on the show, but luckily no one pulled a maneuver like this and rage quit. I would have been.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Luckily, Ernie had to go eat dinner. That's what saved us.
No, I like it.
It was going to be a Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Well, I would hate for my show to be the place where two people ended up not liking each other. Nobody knows the answer for sure, right? I mean, if we really knew for sure, we'd be like Biff with the sports book in Back to the Future 2 and just, betting on all winners. So, I personally do know what it's like to bet on losers, and I hate being wrong.
We all do.
Yeah. Yep. So as a reminder, guys, stay right there real quick. I'm just going to do my outro. Give us a 5-star review. It's free. Go on iTunes, 5-star review. I'll read it live here on the air. We really appreciate it. This is how people find honest, impartial, unbiased content about crypto, gold, silver, Austrian economics on iTunes. It's not going to happen organically. They're not looking to push Kennedy Financial up the ranks. You have to help us on your own. And many thanks to the people who already have supported us on Patreon. Again, we couldn't do this without you. The Scotts, the Patricks, all you guys. I'll be back tomorrow. I was on RL's show, episode number 3. We talked more Bitcoin, the halving, what it entails. See you later, everybody.